Okay, hi everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. I feel like we need to quickly make a video on this because I'm freaking out a little bit. I don't know about you, but apparently Garmin and Strava are in a legal battle and they're fighting, which is sad because I feel like to some extent Garmin is like the OG of running watches and just one running watches brands, and Strava is like this lovely little social media thing that we get to do alongside wearing our Garmin. And listen, as someone who is both a Garmin and Strava lover, I feel like this was like a video that I had to make. Okay, so here's what's going on, and I'm gonna try and keep it simple, but from what I understand and what's been shared online, Strava and Garmin are in some kind of legal dispute, and it looks like Strava is suing Garmin over API usage, which is basically the technology that lets your watch automatically send data to Strava. If they don't resolve this before November 1st, that API connection would stop working, i.e., you would not be finishing your runs and seeing the little lovely automatic upload to Strava. You would have to do that manually if you were a Garmin watch user. Now, that's annoying for a number of reasons. Firstly, just that we've had it so easy for so long, and you get to finish your run, save the run on your watch, and then suddenly see it on Strava. But now you would have to manually upload it to be able to get that map, get that data, get the kudos, get the cute little like Instagram story map reshare, like all of that. You would need to now kind of like do as like a second step post run. And I know that most of us are more concerned over what coffee shop, what pastry you're getting after your runs. So this is almost like an afterthought that we don't need, but like some of us we will do if deemed necessary. Okay, but let's talk about why everyone's freaking out. I'm not going to lie, like I'm not freaking out too much yet. We are in like mid-October when I'm recording this, so I'm kind of like fingers crossed hoping that they figure things out before November 1st. But again, like I said, if it comes to November 1st, if I need to start manually uploading my runs to Strava, so be it. But I do have another option that I'm like kind of considering, and I will share that later. But I think that for the most part, so many of us that have been running for a number of years now are just so used to that easy integration between Strava and Garmin. And the two seem like they should marry together pretty well, I would say, in my opinion, because Garmin's been around for so long since they've had those like old, massive, bulky watches that I've seen some images of online. I think as this sort of like legal battle has been spoken about online, lots of people have been sharing like their very first Garmin. And I think that it's great that there are other brands such as Koros and Apple. But I think that like Garmin just like truly breathes like running and like just has been around for so long. I feel like I can't continue this video without like making this symbolic. So one second. Okay, there we go. Much better. But truly, I think for me, especially, like when I started distance running, my Garmin Forerunner 935 was like my first serious running watch. And that was me like upgrading from an Apple Watch Series 3 to a Garmin. And I bought it secondhand off of Facebook Marketplace. And I used that thing until it did not work anymore. Like I can tell you that. And now that I've had the great pleasure of getting to work with Garmin, like it's truly been such a treat, but also such a full circle moment. But like I love Garmin so, so much. And I know that some people are like team Koros or team Garmin, but like having tried both watches, I just love Garmin so much, mostly because their maps are incredible. And as a trail runner, I love that feature, but also just like everyday sort of usage. I think the Garmin is just so nice. The AMOLED display is beautiful, especially on the 970. And I love it so much. So I'm just like, I do have an old Koros, but I'm not gonna go and use it. I'm just gonna be honest here. But yeah, I guess from like the Strava angle of this, it is quite hard because I recently became a Strava creator earlier this year at the London Marathon, which was very cool. And I felt like I joined the cool kids club because I was just like, what am I even doing here? But I truly have loved Strava since day one. And I love being able to look back on like runs from a year ago, 2 years ago, or just being able to like search marathon and see like every single little like journal entry really that I had for every one of my marathons. And it feels really special that like it holds all of these like little thoughts and like photos from like group runs and things. And having my run club that I host every month, it's also where I host my run club, where I share events, where I really like try and foster a community. And so to that extent, it also feels a little bit sad because like I'm such a pro Strava runner and I love Strava and I love, obviously I wear this sweatshirt like all the time, but I think that it's hard because it's like I always have imagined the 2 together, and I can't imagine them fighting, let alone, apart come November. So I'm kind of hoping and crossing my fingers that they just figure this out before November 1st. But truly, I'm having a little bit of a identity crisis here. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I feel like I've also seen like people online talking about how they're gonna just like ditch Strava entirely, or they're threatening to switch watches. Some are just saying that they'll upload manually, which is like, fine. And like, I'm happy to do that in the first few days. But truly, I don't know if I'm gonna do that long term. I'm not gonna lie. But I feel like the bigger picture here is that it just might change how we interact with the data and just like with the data and each other. And I think that it's not just this tech issue, it's actually like a bigger community scale issue. Okay, and here is what I'm sort of thinking. And if you've been here since 2023, then you might be like rolling your eyes, like, I already know what's coming. But if you haven't, then let me introduce you to the fact that back in 2023, I used to wear 2 watches. Yes, I was one of those people. I was wearing my Apple Watch Ultra 2 alongside my Garmin Forerunner 935. Now, I wasn't crazy and wearing it all on one arm because, I mean, my wrist area is not that big, but I would just wear one on each wrist. You can see footage from me at Chicago Marathon 2023, which, to be fair, is where I PB'd and still to this day is my PB. I was wearing 2 watches and I was lapping on one and the other one was kind of just there for fun. But I genuinely, like, if I had to, I would go back to 2 watches. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I need one for the data and one to be able to connect to Strava, I will do it. I'm just putting that out there. And I feel like the idea that I would only be wearing 2 watches just for when I'm running also is like not too bad, you know what I mean? But I feel like obviously Apple isn't one that I really normally use to help with like inputting workouts or my race predictions or, really trying to like lap on a track or anything. I have tried that before. I just find that Garmin's slightly more accurate than Apple, but no hate to Apple. I just think that Garmin is slightly better. So I'd love to hear in the comments what your plan is if you are a Garmin watch wearer and also a Strava user. What is your plan? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you do have a Strava, you can follow me. I'll put a little, I think there's a QR code or something that I can put here, but I do try and be quite funny and quirky with most of my daily uploads and try and like share photos or, try and share a little funny story or share whatever pastries I'm consuming post run. But we should be friends on Strava because we can unite together and see what the plan is, see what everyone's going to be doing post November 1st. But again, like I said, fingers crossed that mom and dad just stop fighting and we just get to keep operating as we have been with the seamless, just automatic uploads because that is how things are nice. And life is nice right now because everything's uploading automatically. But I'm going to keep following the story and I'll update you guys if I learn of anything else. But if you also are obsessed with running or tech or any of that, make sure to subscribe because I upload on this channel every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. And this is one of those weeks because I feel like there's just too much going on in the world. So make sure that you subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And again, comment below what your plans are, but also what sorts of videos you'd like to see from me in future. And I will see you soon. Fingers crossed, November 1st. Bye.